Welcome to Gone Phishing, a show diving into the cybersecurity threats that surround our highly connected lives. Every human is different. Every person has unique vulnerabilities that expose them to potentially successful social engineering. On this show, we'll discuss human vulnerability and how it relates to unique individuals. I'm Connor Swalm, CEO of Phin Securities, and welcome to Gone Phishing. Hey everyone, it is Connor from Phin, and you are listening to Gone Phishing again. Today, I have a special guest and a good friend of mine, Kyle Spooner, and we are going to be talking about a subject near and dear to both of our hearts, which is managed service providers. Kyle, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
You are only fantastic. What's going so well?
It's everything. Life busy. The sports. My kid's in the worst sport imaginable, baseball. So I have to suffer through the times until he gets to hit or field,
That sounds fun. You got to bring a book or something to read in between the innings.
I do.
Awesome. So you and I met years ago now at this point.
Yep.
My hairline's receded a bit. I don't know. You look as young as when I first met you. But we met in MSPGeek, which is a community for MSPs. What is an MSP? In your words, what is an MSP?
It's in the name. It's a company that provides services that they manage. And there's a couple of evolutions that managed service providers take. Generally, they started as companies do break fix work. So someone has an issue and they call up the company and they get billed per hour to work on an item, and that's how they make their revenue. But managed service providers are contract based, so unlimited labor generally, and we take in all the issues you have. We do a whole bunch of other cool stuff like monitoring and management of your machines, patching, all that good stuff. And then we charge you per month. And then there's other versions of managed service providers, like there's specializations like MSPs, managed security service providers, which are just managed service providers with an extra S.
You're going to get some flack for that, but that's
probably.
Okay. You heard it here first. Just an extra S. That's all it is. So it's a company that provides a bunch of services that they manage. You described. If things break, they'll fix them. Yep. If there's issues with IT, they'll provide the software. They'll provide everything.
So a lot of times in the management of a managed service, MSP, managed service provider, there's what they call operational maturity levels. And depending on where you're at in that spectrum, depends on if you have what they call a stack. Basically, it's just a stack of products you offer your clients. And that can go from, we do Google or we do Microsoft. We do ESX or we do Hyper-V. Like, it's just a full list of what we offer our clients. That's what you get in your contract, and maybe a couple of extras. So that's generally how they package their deals.
They provide a list of services, and how do they decide what's going on? I mean, we could all make the statement, "Oh, if I could make $1 on that, I'm going to start offering it." But is there any deeper reason that MSPs offer the things that they do?
Sometimes yes. Sometimes they do it. It depends on the person, the executive leadership team of the MSP, the CEO. The technicians. There's a lot of differing opinions on how to properly select vendors. But generally, I like to make sure that if I call support, they're there. Does it solve my needs that I'm looking to resolve? Like if I have an issue, does your software provide that? If I can get someone on the phone, like not necessarily support related, but account management, how difficult is that process? What does your security look like from a holistic perspective? A whole bunch of different, there are guides you can get online that just say, this is what you look for in a vendor. But that's where we generally start, and to make sure that what we're looking at is what we're going to get and what we can easily provide our clients.
That makes a lot of sense. I've always thought about it kind of like it's the back office IT folk, but they're not in your office. Well, sometimes, whatever. There is a case where you have techs on. We're not going to get into that, but it's more like when you're running a small business, and let's use a real pedantic example like a bakery. You probably know how to bake really good food. Probably don't know a whole lot about the security of POS systems or your phones or even your emails. So something as simple as that. So it's like you're hiring expertise as a small business to make sure your business can run and can be functional and secure.
Yeah. And a lot of times what you're getting is not just one person, because a lot of companies can hire one individual who might have a general specialization. But with a managed service provider, they have teams of people, different tier levels of technician, different specializations, account managers, security specialists that may be able to not only help you with the security side of your business, but also be able to help you grow your business. And from a technical standpoint, there are MSPs who specialize in only one industry, and they stick to that industry, and they know that industry extremely well, and will help you actually grow massively because they know what works and what doesn't from the technological perspective.
I've seen that a lot. I've seen MSPs that we specifically work with who serve one vertical. They end up having a more consolidated set of tools because that industry is more prone to use certain tools, and they also know how to use them a little better. But you made a statement, and I know we talked about this a little bit beforehand. It is managed security service provider. Do MSSPs exist?
Look, I mean,
how brave do you want to be?
Technically, they exist, right?
Okay.
But it's still a managed service provider. They're still providing services. It's just specialized to security. It's an MSP with an extra S. And I know not everyone
we should put
shares
that
opinion, especially MSSPs. But I mean, if you want to call yourself an MSSP, I understand. Not everyone, the MSP and sometimes the industry itself has a bad name. And I understand trying to distance themselves from the stigma. But at the end of the day, you're still providing services that you manage.
MSP, managed service provider with an extra S. You should put that on a t-shirt and sell it.
I could. I don't want to get yelled at, though, because
someone will yell at
you. Yeah, 100%.
If somebody's already yelling at you anyway, you might as well
type it in the comments right now.
Exactly.
How dare you?
You bring up an interesting point, which is I've talked about this with Reg Harnish from Orbital Fire, Jimmy from, I think you were on that webinar, is can MSPs be MSSPs? Can they actually provide security services? And came down to real simply, if you have security expertise on your staff that do security services, then yes. If not, please God, go find somebody that can.
100%.
So it sounds like the comment you had made earlier about you're not just getting a single person, you're getting typically a diverse set of skills across many different people, some of which are security, some of which are IT and infrastructure, and someone like Tom Lawrence who does cabling all the time and is apparently like famous for doing that. I don't know. I see a lot of his videos.
We haven't used them yet, but if we need to, I know who to call.
Yeah. It's like this weird, it's an incredibly, you wouldn't know what it takes to actually run a business from a technical standpoint until you started, I guess, paying somebody to do it. So MSP communities, groups of these MSPs getting together, talking online, maybe grabbing a drink occasionally. Why are they so important to the industry?
I think it's fairly simple. I mean, humans are social animals, right? We cluster into groups. Look at sports franchises, right? You're a fan of the Tom Brady team or you
watch a lot of sports ball, don't you?
Yeah, sports ball. Touchdown, home run. But it's you group and you find fraternity in that area, and managed services is no different. You're in the same industry. You just group and find other MSPs, and you find your area where you can stick, and then you can not only get help with questions, but you can help others. And I think the mixture of when you need help, being able to get an answer and being able to help others, that gives a nice balance to people. And most of the communities that in the MSP space are like that. They're willing to help you and also let you help if you have expertise. I mean, I run MSP Geek along with a bunch of other great people, and it is enlightening to see a lot of the success stories that we've seen. I mean, I know people who have gone from low-level technicians to high executives in companies, and they've done it because they've asked a couple of questions at MSP Geek. They've answered questions. They've grown with the community that's grown around them. And there's other communities like that. There's, Reddit, r/MSP. There's MSPs R Us, Tech Tribe. There's several Facebook groups. And it's just, we gather around and help each other out.
People love to help those that help themselves. It's a statement I've always said.
Yep.
And that's actually how we met.
It
MSP
is.
Geek. So you are a part of MSP Geek.
Yep.
What putting you on the spot now, I guess. What sets MSP Geek aside, or is it just it is, as far as I know, the largest of the communities because it's been around and most people are willing to invest in it?
Technically, Reddit is bigger. It's been around longer, but from the real-time chat communities, I think we're the biggest, and we've 10 years next month. It will be around. It was founded in May 2013, and we started out as a community centered around a single product, and then as those who used the product grew, and as we grew as a community, we expanded, and we decided to rename ourselves because we were called LabTech Geek at the time. And we rebranded ourselves to MSP Geek. We formed a nonprofit organization to help continue our goals. We have a board of directors, and we're throwing our very first conference.
Tell me more about that. What's the conference?
So we decided that we wanted to help educate the an area that hasn't been focused on in the MSP space, which is the technicians. We wanted to dedicate something to them, and we figured a conference would be the best way to do this. So we spent a large amount of time with a lot of fantastic individuals planning and building this conference centered around how to be a better technician. The whole thing is about the learning journey and taking tier technicians and increasing their abilities, and making sure that we capture the actual skills that is in use by higher level technicians and bring them down and say, this is the skill you need to learn and use to be a better technician. We're not teaching them how to open the start menu and go to the seek command prompt and type in words. We're teaching them the core values or the core skills to be able to know why you do that and how to progress if you don't know where to progress to.
Like what it actually means to be providing a good service or good security or good IT, not just I can go to Stack Overflow and copy these things.
Correct. When you copy that, you know why you're copying it and what it's doing.
Yeah. Let me be very clear. You're still doing the copying, but now you have a little bit of insight. It makes it all better.
Yep.
But I remember hearing of the conference and thinking, wow, that's exactly how I got started. I showed up as a random guy in a random MSP, in a random Slack channel on a random Reddit thread and said, hey, I know nothing. Like, here are a bunch of questions I have. There are some people who weren't nice. Yeah, it's whatever. It's the world. That's the world. Deal with it. But the overwhelming majority of people were so willing to invest. And I thought it was super cool that y'all were bringing it to reality. So I'm very excited. And speaking of MSP technicians, we're having Kyle on next week on another episode of the podcast. And we're going to talk about what good MSP technicians look like. There's apparently levels to MSP technicians, and we're going to figure out what that's all about, how to train them, and just what it means to be an MSP and have techs that offer stuff. So join us next time with Kyle on an episode of Gone Phishing, and we will see you soon. Thanks, Kyle, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Gone Phishing. If you want to find out more about high-quality security awareness training campaigns, how to launch them in ways that actually engage employees to change their habits, then check us out, Phin Security, at phinsec.io. That's phinsec.io. Or click all of the wonderful links in our show notes. Thanks for fishing with me today, and we'll see you next time.